Listen, brother, Iron Man 1 ruined half of the MCU that we know today, and I'm tired of pretending that it didn't. Now, I'm going to explain what I mean by that in just a moment, but I want to tell you right now that I may say some things that you don't agree with, so I would like to preface all of this by saying that you, specifically, are a fucking joke. No wonder the Avengers didn't take you, or the X-Men, and they'll take fucking anyone. I mean, you are a ridiculous, immature, half-wit moron. I have never met a sadder, more attention-starved, jabbering little prick in my entire life, and that says a lot because I've been alive for more than 200 fucking years. And I'll tell you, that bald chick was right about one thing. You will never save the world. You couldn't even save a relationship with a goddamn stripper. And motherfucker, I wish I could say you die alone, but it's one of God's best jokes that you can't die, except it's on all of us. Now that I got that off my chest, Iron Man 1 is very good. A little too good of an origin story. And if you recall just a moment ago where I said, listen brother, Iron Man 1 ruined half of the MCU that we know today, and I'm tired of pretending that it didn't. I said that because this movie is hilarious. Definitely the best part of the movie is the comedy, but everything coming after this takes on that similar vibe of everything being comedic for the most part. But the thing is, the humor in this movie is a lot different than the other humor that we see. When people talk about the MCU humor, they're not really talking about the humor we get in this movie. This is a very specific type by Jon Favreau that I really enjoy. For example, I'm a sucker. One thing you gotta know about me is that I'm talking about the Iron Man 1 movie right now. But another thing you gotta know about me is that I love, in comedy, doing direct contradictions. The shorter, the better. And this movie has multiple of them. Like, first and foremost, one that stands out is the Rhodey one when they're on the plane. You know, Tony is 3 hours late to the flight. Rhodey, all business, he's pissed. He's like, Tony, I'm sick of your nonsense. Tony's like, hey, you wanna start drinking? No, I'm not gonna drink, Tony. I'm not drinking. I'm in business mode. Immediately cut, he starts drinking. Not only is he drinking, he's ranting. Yo, he is gone. Rhodey is gone. He's not drinking though. So that's a very niche part of comedy that I enjoy. Direct contradictions. Another one, also with Rhodey. Rhodey is the GOAT, where Tony's out here trying to escape after getting that revenge against those terrorists. He's like trying to go home. But the military is like, yo, what the hell is this in the sky? So they start chasing him. Rhodey is a liaison. He's trying to figure out what's going on. Tony's saying, yeah, that's not me in this suit, brother. A plane gets struck down. Iron Man saves the guy that he almost killed himself. Everybody rubs some sweat off their forehead. Thank goodness that worked out. Rhodey is like, Tony, how am I going to explain this to people at the press conference? Tony's like, isn't the usual just saying it's a training exercise? And Rhodey, of course, this is a smart man, says, Tony, that's not going to work for this one. Immediate cut. Okay, guys, yeah, so this was just a training exercise. And then the contradictions don't stop there. Let's move over to Pepper when they're at the party. You know, when they're doing that flirting and stuff, will they, won't they kiss right there. When they first step outside, Pepper's freaking out because they were dancing together. You know, Tony is her boss. It's looking kind of weird because she's around all of her co-workers and such. Tony's out here saying, yeah, that was totally harmless. And Pepper immediately is like, and that was totally not harmless, by the way. Dude, I love it. This movie is funny.
That was totally weird.
Totally harmless.
It was totally not harmless, by the way.
We're dancing.
And I'm not even going to talk about everything in this movie, right? I'm not even going to mention, even though I'm mentioning it right here, this is a direct contradiction. See, this is what I was talking about. I planned this 100%. You know, with Obidiah Stane wanting to see what Tony's working on in the basement. And Tony's like, nah, this is just for me, dude. He's like, I'm gonna go down there. Good night, Obidiah. And then Obi's like, all right, you don't want to show me? I'm keeping this pizza that I brought. All right, go ahead, have a slice. You know what, have 2 slices. I'm not even gonna talk about that type of comedy, even though that's in this movie as well. I mainly just want to bring up the contradictions because that's like my favorite part of it. But yeah, I think the humor is the strongest part of this movie. That's what I enjoy the most. Plus, also the music too. Oh my goodness, the music is great. You know the da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. Dude, I wish they kept that theme song for me. Now, for the story itself, I think it's solid. You know, Tony Stark, the head of Stark Industries, gets kidnapped as he's doing a presentation in Afghanistan, forced to make one of his weapons as he just learned that his weapons are being used for evil as well. He's able to escape by using his ingenuity, builds an Iron Man suit, gets out of there, comes back home, has a change of heart, changes everything about his company, turmoil, stock price drops. He is maintaining focus. He wants to help people instead of hurt people. Everybody's in his ear, they're yapping at him. Tony, this is a bad idea. What are you doing? We got people on TV breaking mugs saying this is a terrible idea. He builds a suit. Oh, it turns out that his father's friend who took over the company for a couple years before he turned 21. Oh, he put out a hit on Tony. He wants to take the company back. He's got to defeat him now using his new Iron Man suit. And like the GOAT that he is, he does so and saves the day. So that's basically the plot. But let's move on to the characters real quick. All right, Tony Stark, of course, the main character. This is the main man. Love it. He's got that character arc. I think it was earned. It was great. He's also very funny. Dude, also, the movie is just so funny. The cheeseburger bit, he's like, I want cheeseburgers first and foremost, then we're doing a press conference. He gets to the press conference. Obidiah Stane sees him. He's like, oh, you got a cheeseburger. Can I have one? Oh, sorry, Obi. I just got one and I need it. Immediately sits down in the press conference, brings out another cheeseburger, dude. Yo, this man, Tony Stark, is goated. Tony, of course, great guy. Dude learns how to fly, you know, albeit there's some trouble there. And then he's like, around just his robots, he's like, yeah, I can fly. Hell yeah, dude. I also like Obidiah Stane. I love Jeff Bridges, okay? You may not like him, but okay, dude, that's just your opinion, man. I love him. I love the demeanor that he had. He's like so, you know, even when before the turn, he just has this kind of like dark charisma that's, you're like, this dude could be hiding something from me, but also he's like so charismatic that I'm not really gonna question it right now because he's a pretty cool guy. But then after the turn, I like that as well. Yo, this man, Obidiah Stane, right? Yo, if I'm gonna pick a quote from this movie, because I like quotes, you know what I mean? If we had no quotes, we wouldn't be talking. Let me pick out a quote, even though this movie has a couple, but you know what? I'll bring up multiple that are popping up to me. So it was when, you know, towards the end of the movie, where Obidiah gives Tony Stark some short-term paralysis, you know, nothing major or anything. And then he said, you know what? I like that arc reactor in your chest. Give me that. And then as he's taking it out, Obidiah Stane is like, you think because you have an idea that it belongs to you? Brother, what a line. Who wrote that? I know most of this movie was improv. Did Jeff Bridges just come up with that? Who came up with that line? Because that is some of the most devious stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. You think because you have an idea it belongs to you? That's the most villain shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And the other one was Obidiah Stane, right before walking out of that room after stealing that arc reactor. He was fully intending on never seeing Tony Stark ever again. You know what the last thing you said was? You know, I just wish that you didn't get Pepper into this. I would have preferred if she stayed alive. This dude was ready to have that be the last time he ever talked to Tony Stark. Yo, this man's crazy. Good stuff, man. But also, we got to talk about, you know, the ending, because this is kind of a contentious point with people, which I agree with the majority. This movie did not really need to end with, you know, a mirror match. You know, we didn't really need to have Iron Man versus Ironmonger in the suits. We didn't really need that for this movie. And I think that's also another aspect of this movie that I think Marvel took a lesson that they, not a lesson, or like a thing that they perceived as contributing to the success of this movie that they shouldn't have, because it's not really, it was more so leading up to the ending. It was more so about the battle of intellect between Obidiah Stane and Tony Stark. So it just felt very generic and kind of not underwhelming, but like, all right, okay, I guess we're doing this. You know, that kind of reaction where it's like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna build my own suit. Now we're gonna fight. It's like, all right, I think it would have been cool if, because I want to give this I want to give you a little bit of an alternative of what they could have done instead of just complaining that I didn't like it. I think it could have worked out if everything's playing out the same that it usually does, but instead of actually making the suit, we still get that scene of him going up, wanting that suit made, and claiming that Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. And then the response to that being, well, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not Tony Stark. I like that. I think it would have been cool if we took that second part, that second quote, super literally. As in, he wanted to make a suit, but it's so difficult that they really just could not make a suit. That, I think, would work, because then this scene wouldn't just... It's not going to be a thing that didn't pay off. It just doesn't pay off in a fight in the conclusion of this movie, but it would set like a narrative of, you know, what Tony Stark did here is wildly impressive, and nobody else can match it yet. Which, spoilers, not really spoilers, but that narrative goes into the second Iron Man movie, so it would work out pretty well. But it would be cool if it was just a thing where they couldn't make that suit. And then I also like how he put a hit on Tony, have him also put a hit out on Pepper, because at that point she found out what he was up to. So he puts a hit out on Pepper. Now, why does he do that? Oh, it turns out that all this turmoil with Stark Industries, he's going to a press conference to address all of the rumors, the new direction, what's been going on with Stark Industries. Obidiah has to do that instead, so he puts out a hit on Pepper. So then Tony Stark needs to use his suit, go over and save Pepper. We could still have that, you know, big superhero doing that superhero thing in his suit to save Pepper, but then immediately needs to pick her up. They go flying. They gotta go over to that press conference. He needs to crash that press conference and out Obidiah Stane on television right there and defeat Obidiah the same way that Obidiah was, essentially beating him throughout this movie entirely with his intellect. Now that would change a thing where, Obidiah Stane, instead of dying in a battle, he instead could just go to prison. Either way, he's out of the picture after this movie, so I think the end result is pretty similar. It could work. Also, after he outs Obidiah right there at the press conference, you could have those reporters do the same thing they do at the end of the actual movie, where you ask about the Iron Man, and then Iron Man is, deflecting at first, but then admits that he is Iron Man. You still get that epic ending, but the conclusion is really Tony Stark outsmarting Obidiah Stane. I think I would like that a lot more than what we saw here. So that's what I would have pitched. But for the most part, Obidiah Stane, I liked him a lot. I liked his motivation. I think Jeff Bridges did a great job at portraying the character. I also really liked Rhodey. I know a lot of people prefer Don Cheadle, which I do too, don't get me wrong, but I also do like Terrence Howard. There's like this certain softness to his portrayal where he doesn't put up with Tony's nonsense, but still allows it to some degree, where it's like you could see very much how they're friends. It's a very cool dynamic that they got. And Terrence, with this dynamic, he's able to highlight how problematic Tony Stark really is, but at the exact same time, he illustrates why it's so fun to watch Tony Stark, which is like the peak of what a supporting character is supposed to do. So I liked Rhodey a lot. And also shout out to Yinsen, giving Tony Stark that motivation, that change of mindset to wanting to help people instead of hurt people. I think that whole first part of that movie was very earned. I think they spent enough time with it to get you invested in Yinsen, so when he dies, you're like, damn, dude. He really helped Tony out a lot. He really set things in motion. I'm sad to see him go. That sucks. I think they earned that. I like Pepper Potts. I don't entirely buy Tony and Pepper as a romantic dynamic, but their banter back and forth, I like that a lot. Actually, you know what? I'd even mention the best part of this movie. Agent Phil Coulson is here, and if he wasn't here, we would not have gotten Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the best Marvel show.
Say that again?
I said Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the best Marvel show. I didn't even talk about the post-credit scene. One of the best post-credit scenes. Samuel L. Jackson, are you kidding me? Setting up the Avenger Initiative? Dude, that's a great scene right there. I will say that Iron Man 1 is fantastic.
Say that again?
Iron Man 1 is fantastic. Now, I have a personal question to ask you. Let's say that Captain America, Steve Rogers, traveled back in time to the events of this movie, and he popped up when Tony Stark, Happy Hogan, and Pepper Potts were getting Burger King. What do you think would be Captain America's Burger King order? Go down in the comments, let me know. While you're down there, please leave a like on the video. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you join us for the next time we do this, even though I think I'm starting to get a little angry.